RetroDaze.
When I was a kid, I knew exactly when summer began. It started the moment I stepped out of school on the last day of class. Boom, summer. Now, as an adult, the timing becomes a bit murkier. Does summer start on the summer solstice, which is Friday, June 20th this year? Does it start when college kids get out of school, or maybe when the secondary and elementary schools let out? Or how about Memorial Day weekend, your first official vacation of the season? My point is, to quote the Breeders' song, Saints, summer is ready when you are. And for me, that's right now.
It's warm out, the sun is shining, and I have sprawling months ahead of me to play video games, eat ice cream, and go to fairs, as if I were still a kid in the 80s. Sounds like summer to me. Whenever this time of year rolls around, like the start of most seasons if I'm honest, I start to reminisce about when I was younger. I ponder the endless summer days of youth when the school year was like a fever dream, unreal and distant. When a single hour could stretch onto the horizon. When waiting for the ice cream truck was an event worthy of my full attention and a pocket full of quarters could sustain me for days. I mourn those childhood summers, long dead and buried under countless other memories. Try as I might, it's hard to claw my way back to the feeling of freedom and wonder I experienced as I stepped out of my classroom, never looking back, eyes forward, scanning the days ahead like a king about to address his subjects. Still, there's always hope. The closest thing I've ever been to a morning person were those warm, sunny mornings when I knew there was no school waiting for me on the other side of my closed eyelids. On school days, I was always slow to get out of bed. Drowsy and enervated, as if I hadn't gotten any sleep at all. But summer mornings, I couldn't get out of bed fast enough. Even breakfast had a secret allure despite being the same old scrambled eggs or bowl of cereal.
We win! Man, Tony, they're tough. You two up for a little game?
We'll take you on after this complete breakfast, including my vitamin-packed Frosted Flakes. They bring out the tiger in you.
Purpling in that? That ought to be good.
Frosted Flakes, good. They're great.
You'll show them you're a tiger. Show them what you can do.
Big tiger.
The taste of Tony's Frosted Flakes. Man, can she hit? Brings out the tiger in you.
And you.
I'd take my breakfast to the living room and catch whatever early morning programming was on, which was always a little better than daytime television during the school year. In July of 1986, starting at 7 a.m. and running through 9 a.m., there were such glorious options as The Flintstones, Batman, Robotech, Mask, Bugs Bunny and Friends, Tom and Jerry, Scooby-Doo, Inspector Gadget, Gumby, Voltron, and many more.
There are evil forces in the universe.
He'll come around in good time.
But fortunately, we have superheroes like Voltron to protect us.
We better form Voltron. You got it.
Voltron, Monday through Friday mornings at 7 on TV50.
As cool as it was to actually have free time to watch cartoons during the week, as soon as my Frosted Flakes were gone, I was out the door and on my bike, jetting off through the quiet streets to my friends' houses. No, I didn't bother calling them first. This was summer, after all, and whether it was directly stated or not, we all knew we'd be meeting up nearly every day. Now, depending on what kind of kid you were and how close you were with your friends, you had two options upon arriving at their house. Option one was to knock, and if one of their parents answered, you'd ask excitedly, "Can Benny come out and play?" Option two, confidentially, this was always my move, was to scream through the open windows, "Hey Benny, let's go already, will you?" As morning bled into early afternoon, we'd race our bikes around the back streets of our town and let the wind take us wherever it blew. We were still young enough that time meant very little. The sun lingered high up in the sky for what seemed like an eternity, even as we dallied with any little thing that caught our interest. Maybe we'd find some glass bottles and smash them on a pile of rocks. Or we'd inspect an interesting little cove grown over with moss and ferns. Then we'd follow an errant stream for a bit, eventually dismounting our bikes to explore the undersides of rocks, hoping for salamanders or snakes, and usually only getting beetles and ants. Sword fights with fallen tree branches would ensue until the heat of the day drove us further into town with the promise of a cold beverage or ice cream. So we rode on, feeling a freedom so complete, Even adulthood could never compare. After all, there were no cell phones, GPS tracking, or other methods of checking in with our parents. We were gone for the day, free from the constraints and rules of the adult world, free from the dread of the school year, free from work, at least until one of our parents wrangled us long enough to make us mow the lawn. But that was only if they could catch us first, and boy, we were fast. Powered by enthusiasm, the joy of youth, and sure, probably a ton of sugar too. In town, we had lots of choices, but the first was the park, because they had a series of sprinklers embedded in the concrete and we needed to cool down. Now, they were kind of for the little kids, but that wouldn't stop us from partaking in the streams of blissfully cold water. If no one else was around, we might even try to do some minor stunts with our bikes, skidding into the collected puddles and kicking up water into the air. Sufficiently soaked, maybe we'd hit the handball courts. One of us always had a Spalding in our pocket for just such an occasion, but sometimes, even during the summer, the weather gods were not on your side. The sky over our young heads became suddenly cloudy and gray, threatening rain. Invariably, on summer days like this, I'd head to the video store in town and rent a scary movie. Everyone would pool money until we had sufficient funds, and then we'd spend far too much time browsing the aisles for the best choice. The question was, did we want to lean into the theme of rain or the theme of summer?
Before Mary Shelley could write her masterwork of terror, Frankenstein, she had to experience it.
It's alive! You can't run away from your own fears!
In one night, two legends were born.
While there was probably a serious debate for Jaws, it was also a movie we'd watched often, while Gothic was totally new to all of us. It had something of a historical period piece aesthetic that some of us were unsure about, but we'd all seen the trailers and knew there were all kinds of storms and thunder, which just felt right for that particular day. Next door at the corner store, we bought some snacks. Probably a box of Goobers to pour into our popcorn, bags of chips, Twizzlers, Milk Duds, and all the classic movie snack food we could afford.
This little boy, this little girl, their mother and father too. They all have an urge, and oh, what an urge for something to munch and chew. Choo-choo. Now these are just swell, and this rings the bell. The popcorn is crispy and hot. Then others again have a terrible yen for a drink that hits the spot. Go, go. So if you want candy, the lobby is handy. A condo with sweets and a crew. With your kind permission, we'll have intermission. We're ready to serve all of you.
There were countless summer nights spent this way, with the rain beating against the windows, a fistful of popcorn, and the VCR whirring away with Jaws, The Burbs, National Lampoon's Vacation, The Goonies, The Great Outdoors, or some other seasonal fare. But the rain didn't always mean seclusion indoors. We were kids, after all, and little water never mattered much to us. I remember having countless foot races through the rain, getting soaked to cool down after a sweaty day. I could never pass a puddle without leaping into it. Or build little paper boats to sail down the sidewalk rivers, always keeping a keen eye out for Pennywise. At some point, the rain would stop, and my father would say, "You kids want me to fire up the grill?" He'd tell my friends to check in with their parents first and make sure it was okay, but we already knew it was. We were constantly eating lunches and dinners at each other's houses during the summer. It sort of just depended on whose house we ended up at. We'd all gather around and help out with the cooking. The sharp scent of lighter fluid followed by the acrid smell of smoke filled the air. Once all the coal had caught and burned down to embers, the aroma would turn to that of grilled meat. Hamburgers and hot dogs primarily, though sometimes chicken and sausage too. The official foods of summer. On those nights of impromptu grilling, the only vegetables were pickles, sauerkraut, and potato chips, and we were just fine with that. We'd eat our food outside in the open air as the sun dipped below the horizon and fireflies lit the sky, dancing amongst the stars like fae from another realm. Maybe we'd play tag or manhunt, but before long, everyone would disperse and head home. The day had taken its toll, and we'd accomplished much more than any boring school day. There had been adventures, sports, movies, food, and camaraderie, the likes of which adults could never understand.
John Travolta and Karen Lynn Gorney star in Saturday Night Fever.
Later in the evening, when I was supposed to be asleep, I'd turn on my bedroom television and sit up close so I could keep it low. There were always reruns of shows on WPIX-11 like The Odd Couple, Star Trek, or The Twilight Zone, after which the Star movie would start. And I'd sit there bleary-eyed and half asleep because I knew tomorrow there would be no school. No homework, teachers, or classrooms. Only endless days of bike rides, exploring, trips to the park, and video games.
Sometimes, when the atmosphere is just right, I can still remember exactly how I felt on those warm summer nights. My belly full of popcorn and hot dogs, my eyes filled with small screen wonders, and my head full of dreams. It was the kind of feeling I sometimes think only children can truly appreciate, though I still try, as I hope you do. Now, left off today's Summertime Recollections were some of the bigger events, spectacular places, and the particular experiences that made summer in the 1980s special. Well, these, you'll be glad to hear, we're holding back for a very special 4-part series in July. Starting the day after the 4th, on Saturday, July 5th, the whole RetroDaze gang is going to take you on 4 spectacular trips into the past using our trusty time machine, the Thunder Road Mach 2. If you have any recommendations for that 4-part series, well, I'd love to hear about it down in the comments. And if you enjoy our content, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and maybe even activating that ubiquitous notification bell, because it really does make a huge difference. Let's meet again next week to celebrate yesteryear right here on RetroDaze.
Clicky clacky.